trust doesn't collapse immediately through rebellion. It collapses through the introduction of doubt. Welcome to Coach Soul, the podcast where we explore therapeutic ways to the best versions of ourselves. I'm your host, Steve Hudgins. I'm a licensed professional counselor dedicated to helping you navigate life's challenges. In each uplifting episode, we'll discuss mental health, relationships, self-care, emotional well-being, and personal growth. Join me and with my co-host, Kenya Evelyn, a therapeutic life coach, where sometimes we'll even welcome special guests to our show that share their experience and expertise. So let's embark on this transformative path together and discover a healthier and happier you. All right, welcome back to Coach Soul. Kenya, vacation starts coming up next weekend. We start saying it's the start of vacation because it's Memorial Day weekend, where we break out the grills, we unmask the boat to be on the lake. We start working with being able to celebrate time with family because that's when family vacation begins. But there's something deeper. And with it being close to Memorial Day weekend, I want to intertwine something here. And I'm curious to see what your thoughts on this because, as a veteran myself, we recognize we were able to control our training, our efforts, our loyalty to people beside us. But at some time, it's hard to control or imagine the IUDs along the roads, the trajectory of a bullet, the countless variables unfolding with a combat zone. And our mind learns to make a distinction.
That's right.
Something subtle but powerful occurs. And the nervous system begins to release the impossible task of controlling the uncontrollable. Where does trust go?
I love this so much. First of all, hello, dear listeners. So great to be back. I could record podcasts every day. I love our conversations. And I'm imagining that you are doing your workout or you're driving. And I'm so grateful that you guys are tuning in because this subject of trust goes so much deeper than in veterans, right, Steve? It's about our human behavior and our ability to trust when trust has been broken before. And I'm not even talking about the others. Like we as human beings, I'm speaking for myself, I have experienced so many relationships that have broken my trust. And not to say that the biggest relationship that I have been constantly working on, and I send that with an open heart, comes so not perfect, is keeping the trust within myself alive. That when I say I will do something, I will do it. That when I care for that little girl in me that needs me to bridge the gap into the desire and the action, the embodied person. But for veterans, I feel like it goes so much farther because as we were talking outside of the mic, it's not just trust with each other or trust with another human, trust with family members, but is the direction of politics going? How do we move forward with not having our brothers and sisters here? And yeah, my intention in holding space for this conversation is that we come up feeling connected and feeling like our trust grew a little bigger. Just by simple awareness to ask, where is my trust right now? And if I would trust, where would I start?
When you think about where does trust start, that's a good question. Because in my mind, we think about behavior or things of that nature, and I don't know. When you think about where trust is, here as a faith-based person and as a military veteran, I go back into the garden where mankind trusted God, but mankind did something they weren't supposed to have done. But when Adam heard God walking, why did Adam lose his trust in God and he hid? That to me is the root of where trust is. And so trust is a certainty that loyalty was stronger than fear. And when you think about military personnel, the kind of trust does not disappear when the war ends because it becomes memory, honor, and a very quiet reason many veterans still stand a little straighter when a flag passes by, because trust is not broken by sacrifice. Trust is proven it by it. And when I think about as a veteran, when I board a plane, we're trusting that I'm going to come back home alive.
Right. We're trusting everywhere, whether we like it or not.
Right.
Trusting that the cars are going all the same direction. I mean, we don't even think about it.
Yet Memorial Day reminds us that some kept that trust with courage while others kept it with their lives. And you know, we're supposed to trust. And do we give too much trust and trust? I know it's a play on words.
No, it totally makes sense. One could say that there's a hint of naiveness. Like, really, after all this, you still trust? I say, if you're hearing this and you are this human that dare to keep your heart open in spite of, congratulations. That's God in you. That is a reflection that you know that in this human journey, things are going to be imperfect, but you choose to move forward. You choose to keep the faith. You choose to trust. You choose to love. In the end of the day, it is a choice. In the end, in the beginning, and in the middle, it is a choice. However, when you are together, this is why environment is so strong, so important. And if you're listening, I'm talking to you right now, as if you're sitting right here in our studio. If you feel like your muscle of trust is weak, you can borrow ours. We pray and we believe that you're able to trust again, because I do believe that trust and love runs together, runs parallel. Love one another, love yourself. Trust and love runs parallel.
When I think about what you're saying, and going back to the original question, can we trust? And many people begin life assuming that trust is a guarantee. Because we trust parents to protect us. We trust leaders to act with integrity, right? And we trust systems that to operate fairly. And even in military service, trust becomes more concrete because I have to trust that soldier behind me to move forward. Why? When fear appears.
That's right.
And so we trust the intelligence we're given. Trust becomes operational, becomes survival. But what happens is life eventually confronts us with the fragile side of trust. We make mistakes. And I think that's where the deeper psychological question begins. If trust can be broken, can it still be trusted? And the answer often emerges when we begin to recognize that trust wasn't designed to blind certainty. Trust is not a guarantee that outcomes will unfold as we hope. Trust is a willingness to move forward in a relationship, despite the fact that the future remains uncertain. What do you think about that?
Spot on. I would add the rebuild of the trust as a bridge to, okay, trust was broken, but who am I, Pollyanna? I'm just going to keep here believing you dropped the ball, you dropped the ball, you dropped the ball. At some point, is that trusting or is that avoidance? This person is giving you all the signals. This boss is showing you where he's at in his emotional intelligence wheel. You're just going to keep blindly giving it away. So there is a line of discernment. That's what I hear you saying. There's a line of discernment of, I choose to trust because, simply put, treat people the way you want to be treated. I want Steve to trust me, so I'm going to trust Steve. So when things get, when miscommunication occurs and things happen, we get to clean up, we get to talk, we get to move forward, knowing what the vision is. And I'm specifically talking about two humans' relationship of any kind, friendship, parenting, significant other, a school, workplace. However, in the end of the day, it's always a reflection of self. Do I trust? Where, if I am in a place in life, which I have been, dear listeners, I have been, where I was so hurt that I just didn't want to trust again. Like I was so vulnerable. I just didn't want to show up. I wanted to be in that place where things were slower and perhaps darker. And my trust or my lack of trust wasn't being challenged all the time. But awareness was present. You see, that's the difference. When you have been a human that have done so much self-development and spiritual development with God and the Holy Spirit and all the things, awareness never leaves. Awareness never leaves. So even though I came across avoiding, I was like, I'm going to allow myself to be in a shell and decide what I want to do. But I'm not ready to just be out there. And I'm speaking because I'm sensing that some of you feel this way today. That perhaps veterans or not, you are in cookouts, you put a smile, but inside, you're really not trusting. You're feeling alone. You don't feel like you have genuine connections. My question to you is, are you connected with yourself? Or you are running the motions of what makes you alive? Just driving automatically, eating automatically, connecting automatically. However, there's no real vulnerability. There's no real intimacy within yourself, therefore within other people's. And it's okay, but you get to answer the question. I'm not saying to point fingers to anyone. There is the spectrum of a human journey, and wherever you are in the journey, it is okay. You just need to know that in this journey, you get to know if you're in trust, if you are in love. And when you're not, contemplate. Ask the Holy Spirit, what if I would trust? What would it look like? What if I would date again, right? So many people are hurt in the dating scene. What if I would forgive again? What if I would respect my body in such a way that I would no longer need to do a diet? Because I know I'm not going to break my word, because it's not a diet. I'm shifting my lifestyle. Just be honest with yourself. Where are you at? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it doesn't matter which area, it reflects the same frequency of trust.
But Kenya, if we say that if I can't trust people, does that mean I become cynical, hardened, closed off? Does it mean something in me has been broken? And yet, when I think about a deeper psychological truth, it's far more nuanced. Trust is not that single decision that applies equally to everyone, because as we've been saying, trust is that layered process. It unfolds through experience and discernment and gradual recognition of character. But when you think about it, early in life, trust is often given freely. Children, because they trust, because why? Belonging requires it. They trust caregivers, authority figures. And at that stage, trust is about evaluation more than attachment. But something shifts. Life gradually teaches a different lesson. And people discover that not every individual carries the same integrity. And so when I think about not every relationship protects vulnerability, it's given. When those discoveries occur, a person begins to move from automatic trust to discerned trust, like you said. So when they say this, the question becomes, the choosing not to trust someone is the absence of trust. In many cases, it's the presence of self-trust. But what
Yes.
happens, right? Trust is not believing everyone is trustworthy, as recognizing who's proven that they are. And so circling back around to that question with Adam, I think is very profound here. Adam trusted God when the moment of exposure arrived. He hid among trees. And it seems contradictory. How can a man who walked with God all of a sudden hide? And the tension rises. But here's where I'm coming to the conclusion. Trust flowed naturally because belonging was unquestioned. Adam existed within the presence of God without shame, without suspicion, without an internal voice that asked whether one is still safe to be seen. And so in that state, trust was effortless because nothing inside Adam believed he needed to hide. And here's the fracture. Mm-hmm. Once suspicion enters the mind, the entire relational structure shifts. Trust doesn't collapse immediately through rebellion. It collapses through the introduction of doubt. So human beings experience this. A person may still believe that another is good, yet feel internally unworthy of being seen by that goodness. And then Adam hid not because he concluded that God was untrustworthy, but because he concluded that he himself was now exposed. So does that raise the question of how much vulnerability is in trust?
I'll come back to choice. It is either choice or you're a victim. I don't trust because somebody hurt me. I don't trust because last time I did XYZ happen. I don't trust because I actually feel my nervous system completely froze up and I cannot move forward. So the choice here is listening where you're at. The choice is not, I want to trust only, not saying with your words, but to be courageous enough to have a self-check. And the word courage really keeps resonating because there's nothing more risk than relate to another human. There's nothing more risky. To open your heart, are you kidding me? The mountain of what ifs. However, the greatest reward, again, love, is in exchange, life and words and creating memories and a life where have you experienced this this occurrence of meeting somebody, Steve, and for a fraction of 5 minutes, it shifts your life. It could be just a song that somebody starts singing or a little toddler that was holding a balloon. And it opens your heart a little bit more to trust that humanity is good, that people are good, that we're all in this together. So I invite each one of you, dear listeners, to be authentic. To where are you at? Are you hiding behind the pain? And it's okay if you say, yeah, and you don't know my story, and I'm so sorry. And I'm so sorry you went through whatever you went through. However, after dealing with hundreds and hundreds of people, I got to tell you that I believe that our stories are very similar. It really is, Steve. You just wrote this beautiful book, and many of us will read and say, are you talking about me? Are you talking about me? Because you know, you're my intimate friend, you know, because we are similar. Our mother wounds are similar. Our father wounds are similar. Our inner child hurt is similar. The human journey is similar. The address, the country, the culture differ. The experience and the invitation to overcome and the invitation to become who you are really meant to be by God's unique design dropped into your body, that's what makes you unique. And I trust that for you.
Well, and here's where I want to tie in Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. Because when you think about as a soldier, if I'm stepping into a helicopter and I'm ready to go into battle, and when you think about we're not knowing what's going to happen that day. And no one on the aircraft with me is going to know exactly what's waiting on the horizon. But we still step forward anyway, because trust gives courage somewhere to stand. Trust is in that person beside you, our comrades. Trust is in the mission. Trust is that loyalty matters, even when the outcomes remain uncertain. And here's what I want to say for those who have parted this life. Because without trust, courage collapses into fear.
Right.
Without courage, trust never leaves the ground. And that's why veterans often carry a deeper understanding of trust than the culture around them. Because we're taught on the battlefield, trust is not sentimental. It's practical.
That's right.
It's a belief that the person next to you will run towards danger rather than away from it. And that belief allows us the courage to exist in moments where instinct would otherwise say run. And yeah, fear, we want to run. But as we've been saying, every meaningful relationship requires trust. Every act of love requires trust. And every commitment to stand beside another person when life becomes difficult requires the courage to trust something that cannot be guaranteed. And so when you think about Memorial Day, it reminds us of this truth in one of the most sobering ways possible. Those who stepped into service trusted their lives were part of something larger than themselves. I know some returned home and some did not. Yet their courage was born from the same place. They trusted the loyalty mattered, sacrifice mattered. And that deepest lesson their lives leave behind is this: trust does not eliminate fear. Trust gives us courage, a reason to walk through it.
That's right.
And courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is what happens when trust is stronger than fear. So, listeners and viewers, I want to say that our men and women who have died trusting in courage. And we need to hold that safe space for each other to know that they were courageous men and women who served this country. Isn't it time to stop throwing bricks at each other?
That's right.
And start trusting in the courage of building a bridge that we can survive as a nation under God and to be able to protect our freedoms. That's what Memorial Day is about this weekend, is remembering that the courage and the trust that they sacrificed for us, now is our turn to sacrifice for them. Kenya?
The words that comes to my mind is trust is dancing with fear. I don't mean to romanticize. I mean to intelligently bring the wave of thank you, gratitude. We are one. What you did 10 years ago, Steve, 20 years ago, and your dad did 50 years ago, it changed the landscape for my sons. How can I be oblivious and say, okay, yeah, he's there, I'm here? No, we are the receiver of the men and women that chose to trust, that had this calling, this excitement, many of them being recruited at such young age, 17, 18, 19. I see you. I applaud you. Thank you for your services. And as life moves forward and you're here, I just want to say, remember these words when trust is hard, when the wave of doubt just come. You have, with your courage, you have changed the country for all of us. You have changed humanity. I now know what men and women is capable of. You never know what you're capable of until you're put in battlefield, literally or behind a computer, but you're still in the frequency of helping people, helping the military as a whole. So I don't take it for granted. And if in days the doubts come in, please remember Stephen Cannon, borrow our trust, receive our gratitude, know that you're deeply loved, deeply seen. I want to see you by name. So if you're listening to this podcast, leave a comment. I would love to pray for you, to see you, to connect with you, and say that I'm so grateful that you chose the higher path. And as you're here in your grounding home in this foundation, I pray that you connect, that your heart is open, and your spirit is free, knowing that we appreciate your services in more ways than you can know.
Memorial Day exists because some carried that trust all the way to the end of their story. Their courage was not the absence of fear. It was the presence of loyalty stronger than fear. And so the question for the rest of us is not simply whether we remember them once a year. The question is whether we understood what their trust was built upon. They trusted that courage still matters in a world often tempted by comfort, in a culture that sometimes forgets commitment, in a society that benefits from freedoms it did not personally fight to secure. So that trust now lives in the hands of those of us who remain. Because Memorial Day is not simply about honoring the fallen. It is about carrying forward in the courage they created. And perhaps the most powerful truth we can remember this. Mm-hmm. They trusted they would come home. Some did not.
No.
But the courage they left behind still did. And so be thankful about Memorial Day as it comes this weekend, or next weekend, sorry. And let's be mindful. And so until next time, take care and God bless.
Have a wonderful day. We love you.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on Coach Soul. As we wrap up, we want to remind our listeners of a few key points. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content shared here is based on professional opinion but may not apply to everyone's situation. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your mental health care. If you're in a crisis, please seek immediate professional help or contact a crisis hotline. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapist-client relationship. For personal advice, please consult with your licensed mental health professional in your area. Remember, your mental health journey is unique. While we hope this information is helpful, it is crucial to work directly with the qualified personnel for your specific needs. Thank you again for tuning in to Coach Soul, and we'll see you next time.